Radical curiosity. Endeavor to understand the person sitting across from you. My name is Dave. I took the definition from the author Seth Goldenberg, and I reached out to him via LinkedIn, and he was generous enough to let me know that we could reference his book, so the content that I used to develop this, as well as recommend the book to get more details. What I gleaned from it is what I want to share with you. And the subtitle really kind of says it all. And it's Radical Curiosity, Questioning Commonly Held Beliefs to Imagine Flourishing Futures. And again, that's by Seth Goldenberg. Now, to go into more detail about that is something else he basically writes in there, is that he argues that in our society, so how we work today, we often prioritize knowing over learning and doing over thinking, which kind of stifles true curiosity. So the premise is that in our organizations today, wherever it might be where we work, we build a culture that's based more on what we currently know versus making place or making space even for learning new ways, which is the truest way to innovate. The best way to innovate for new products, new services, and just new ways of communicating may not be based on what we've always done, right? The old adage, the most dangerous words in the English language are, we've always done it this way. Well, maybe that's not what's going to keep us going and get better. So that's kind of what this is talking about, is being radical about curiosity. Are there better ways of doing it? Have we been doing it wrong? Or can we just make it available to people, create a culture that allows us to try things differently? And that's really what we kind of want to talk about here. To go on with the definition, if you spend time with children, you know they ask a lot of questions. They're curious by nature, and it shows how they grow and throughout their growth, right? Yet somewhere along the line, however, we adults trade in our drive for learning with the strive to be right. Certainly is more desirable than curiosity because it reinforces your beliefs and doesn't force you to change. This is kind of where my passion for critical thinking comes into play, because just because we've always done it this way is not necessarily the best way. And this is a great quote by Stephanie Boza in an article she wrote for Fortune magazine. And she is the founder of The Organized Parent. And just really look at that, right? Somewhere along the line, however, we adults trade in our drive for learning with the strive to be right. We want to have all the answers. We think that the only way to be respected is if we get along with everybody, if we agree with each other. And the dichotomy of that is that we end up being split, right? We kind of define ourselves with a group and we're always right. And if you don't agree with us, you're wrong. It's kind of the problem I have with people saying, in the United States, for instance, we have freedom of press and freedom of speech. And then there's a caveat, well, as long as you agree with me. And we kind of see that in our world today, that you have the right to speak as long as you agree with me. And that's terrible. I don't learn that way. I don't learn from people if I'm only agreeing with the people that agree with me. I want to learn. I'm a trainer, so I'm passionate about training, and I hope to bring that to you in these sessions. So let's look at, now that we kind of have the idea that radical curiosity is really about being curious, making a place and spaces for us to be curious. And one of the things that we want to do is kind of create a new mindset of what we mean by innovation. And the idea is to change our point of view of what that is. More importantly, change how we measure. Because, we all know measurement drives performance. That's why we look at finances, right? We know we're doing well based on our finances. We know we're doing well based on our review. I know I'm doing well based on your feedback of a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, and then asking you why you gave those numbers. This is all about this radical curiosity is about creating a mistake tolerant culture. Find new ways, and you can't find ways if you're not looking for them. And we won't if we don't create a safe place to learn differently. So the idea is to focus on cultural innovation, making our organizations different, make it so that the culture, the people, behavior, the places, not based on financial only, and measure the success differently by how people are treated based on the initiatives on things like equity and corporate culture. How's it feel to go to work every day? What's it feel like? Do we feel like I have to work, or is it like me? I'm in a place now and have been for a long time, very fortunate. I know I'm fortunate and I never take it for granted, which is why I'm so passionate about bringing these events to you. Is I wake up buzzed every day. I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, ready to get to work, and because I'm always so excited. I know that that's the culture is really helps. And what the side effect to that is, or a direct, I shouldn't say side effect, a direct effect is if everybody was really happy and everybody was in a culture that was built on equity and basically well-being, right? Care for all and happiness. Think about how great your organization can thrive. The idea of learning about the people. So that's where we can start is if we're one-on-one, the person sitting across from me, how do I get there? I do it by building personal connections. Encourage everyone to both personally and professionally grow. Maybe create some mentorship programs or internal partnerships. If your organization isn't comfortable with the term mentor for some reason, call it internal partnership. I kind of just thought about that as a way of connecting with each other. Maybe not even and maybe do it with people who aren't in the same team as you. How do we both feel about the work? How do you feel about your boss? How I feel about my boss? How do you feel about your people you serve? How I feel about the people I serve? Built on empathy. I see work and life from an other person's point of view. So for me to be curious and really learn about you, I need to see the world through your eyes, right? Walk a mile in your shoes, as it were, but really kind of see it from your point of view. And that's what empathy gets us to. And then active listening. If I'm going to ask you questions, I'm going to listen to what you have to say. I'm not going to interrupt. I'm going to paraphrase back what I think I heard because I want to seek clarity. I want to make sure if you tell me something, I'm going to say, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for caring so much or caring enough to share your thoughts. This is what I heard you say. And if it's not, I'm going to be patient for you to explain it to me, as well as you're going to be patient to be able to explain it back. How do we do this? Well, couple steps. One is use open-ended questions, not questions that, how are you today? Okay. Do you like your job? Yep. Is everything okay? Nope. Ask open-ended questions. Things like, what are your goals for this project? How do you feel about your participation? Or how can you make bigger strides in your project, in your job, in the organization? I want you to think about being curiosity driven. So make sure that when you're asking the question, you're not asking it just to be nice, which is good, which is a nice thing to be kind, but really ask these questions in a way that you're really curious. Your curiosity is driving. I can go back to that childhood. Hey, you're new to this. Or, hey, you know what? I've been working with you for a long time and I know nothing about you. I've never met your kids. I've never met your partner. I've never met your mom and dad. Or I'm not even sure who you work for or what your job is. I'd like to get to know you more because I think if we do that, we're going to be able to come up with some really cool ideas. So what if we approach the problem from like a startup with no constraints, right? We're just starting off fresh. We tend to call that a reboot. What could we do differently? and build trust and rapport. And that's what's going to happen. If you have this curiosity and you're inquiring about people and really endeavor to understand their points of view, and you're going to actively listen to them and feed back what you heard or paraphrase back what you heard and seek that clarity. Think about how cool work would be the more you get to know somebody, where they're coming from, why they're thinking, and not making any assumptions. You're going to keep open minded about it. Okay. And then just one more thing about radical curiosity. And this is also from Seth Goldberg from this book, Radical Curiosity. Ideally, leaders should serve as a model and ask more essential questions to instill a culture of curiosity. However, and this is something I think some of you may know, and if you don't, I'm really passionate about. Leadership is not a title. That's management. That's director. Okay. Leadership is a role. It's a characteristic. However, it's a role anyone in a company can and should adopt. And again, from Seth Goldenberg. So that is radical curiosity. Endeavor to understand the person sitting across from you. My name is Dave. Thanks for being here.